Greetings, my brothers and sisters. Sending gratitude to all of you who are joining in today to accompany us down the rabbit hole of self-exploration through plant medicines. My name is Ryan Sprague, and I'm here to tell you that your frequency is now set and tuned to explore psychedelic medicines and the impact they've made among the countless psychonauts exploring the last true frontier. Buy a ticket and take the ride with me as we get true first-hand accounts of the experiences, benefits, risks, and transformations taking place within the ever-expanding world of psychedelic medicines on This One Time on Psychedelics. If you ask me what I love most surrounding hearing of people's plant medicine experiences, it will be seeing what they do with the experiences they have moving forward. All too often, people wrongly assume that they need the medicines to be able to access these higher vibrational states when, in reality, all these medicines are showing us is what is already possible within our lives, yet may be currently blocked by a myriad of different issues, such as limiting beliefs, childhood trauma, etc. What I like to say to really drive this home is that plant medicines will show you the what, yet it is your responsibility to figure out the how through integration. And when one can do that, their entire life becomes a psychedelic experience. Coming on to hang with us on none other than 420 is a man who is a professional at taking the wisdom he has gained within his plant medicine experiences, integrating it, and then directly applying that wisdom to his experience of life as a whole. He is a world-renowned coach where he has been assisting his clients in their fitness and mindset journeys for over 10 years, is the face behind his newest project, Freedom Builderz, which helps take the visions of coaches, facilitators, and healers and turn them into reality through helping to build out their programs with everything from social media marketing to website development, slide design, lead generation, funnel design, and much, much more. And if all of this wasn't enough, he is a dear brother of mine who inspires me each day to live my life heart forward with my soul guiding me. So please strap yourselves in for an incredible journey into how we can integrate our psychedelic experiences to make our lives psychedelic in nature, as I welcome on my man, Mike Gonzalez, to the show. Mike, dude, what's up, man?
Dude, you do the best intros.
Yes, dude. It'll be my side hustle.
I'm playing with my mic today.
Yeah.
Dude. Love you, dude.
Oh, love you too, man. It's so much fun. I mean, it's effortless, especially like, you know, when I write intros, like sometimes I don't know the people I'm interviewing too well already, right? So it takes a little while to write the intro. I got to do some research. For you and like people I know, it just flows out of me. Like I literally wrote your whole intro and outro in like 15 minutes, which usually it takes me around 30. And so that's when I knew, I was telling you before we hit record, I knew I'm on a good flow today. I can always measure like how well things are just pouring out of me as to how well my energy is flowing that day. And so what an amazing day, dude. It's 420. We get to rock together. We just did an amazing presentation for one of your groups. I did a presentation on understanding the human biofield and Jungian archetypes, you know, the king, warrior, magician, lover. It was so much fun. It taught me a lot in teaching it as well. And went over great with the guys, and it's just such a great day, man. We're on the best. We're having the best day ever.
Yeah, man. I'm in a good flow today. Feel really awesome, energetic exchange. And when you can tap into the awareness of energy, man, it's such a cool gauge to navigate the human experience through, right? Because energy can tell you whether you're in alignment or whether you're not. Like, is this thing giving me energy or is it taking energy from me? Okay, it's giving me energy. I'm in. Fuck yes, right? Oh, yes. It's taking energy. I'm out. Yeah, this is a big fuck no. So it's such a cool gauge, man, when you can drop into that feeling center, that energetic center.
100%. It can be your guide. You know, you can be your guiding light, right? Where, you know, some days I'll wake up and I can just tell right off the bat, like, oh, I didn't get the best quality sleep last night, right? So that means that, okay, I'm going to be a little more relaxed today overall. If I have like a big calendar day ahead of me that day, maybe I remove a couple things from my calendar. And especially if it's podcasting, things like that, it's the ultimate tell-all with regards to what you're going to be able to output that day. Because if you're not feeling a strong sense of input, right, like a strong sense of energetic flow and currency in your body, then it's going to be harder for you to hit that on button or that go button when you need to. And so, yeah, it's really what allows me to tell me, like, what kind of day do I have ahead? Do I have more of a yin day or more of a yang day ahead of me?
Totally, man.
Mm-hmm. Man, you know, I've heard about your plant medicine experiences, right? And this isn't something that, you know, you talk about super publicly all the time or anything, but we've got to hang out and interact with some journeys together, you know, combo being one of them, which is always a funny journey to go on together and whatnot. You know, I'd love to hear how you got introduced or interested in the psychedelic realm, because you're a go-getter, you're insanely good at business, right? You're a fitness guru, you're all of these things that wouldn't naturally apply to someone liking psychedelics, right? And so I like to say on this show that we smash archetypes. And so this is one of the archetypes that we get to smash today, right? Is what type of person is interested in psychedelics? And so how did you become introduced and interested in this realm?
Yeah, man, for me, it was a journey of exploration, right? You know, a lot of people, when they go on a personal development or transformation journey, you hear them talk a lot about, you know, trying to discover themselves, trying to find themselves. And I don't, 100% agree with that. I think it's more of a remembering process. It's more of an excavation process where you're removing layers. And I think the psychedelic experience can help you remove some of those layers that have been put upon us decades of conditioning. And as you remove those layers, you start to bring yourself back and you start to remember, who you truly are, right? It's like the sun, right? The sun doesn't go away because there's clouds in front of it. It's still there. It's still the sun, right? And I feel like all these layers that have been put upon us through conditioning, they're like those clouds sometimes. Now they're necessary. They're part of the journey, right? I don't disagree with that. But then again, if you start removing those clouds, you can start to find where that center is. You can start to find where that truth is again and align to that. And I think there's a lot of things out there that can bring you to that place, but psychedelics is like hitting the accelerator button on that.
Yeah. I mean, dude, you said it perfectly. And this is what I say too, is that, like I said in the intro, we don't need psychedelics to enter these states yet, especially in Western cultures where we are go, 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 right? And we do have exciting things that we're doing like business and all of the stuff that excites us, hopefully, right? Like I know for me and you, we're lucky enough to do what we love. For a lot of people, they are doing something that they're going because they have to pay bills and they're not necessarily loving it. And so that's a different category. But at the same time, it's not really feasible for most people to go take 10 years to go meditate on top of a mountain. A lot of times what I think psychedelics can do, and I was just talking to Ben Stewart about this, is that what they can do is they can give you a North Star. So when I tell people you should meditate, they're like, why? Right? Because they haven't had the experience yet. If you ride a bike and you tell someone you should totally ride a bike, it's fun. They're like, I don't really know why, because they haven't been able to ride a bike long enough to discover that it is fun. And so with meditation, with all of these things, I think what psychedelics can open up is an opportunity for people to experience like what that feeling is and then go, oh, I can get that through meditation. Okay, now I have a reason, right? Now I have a why. Like now I know what I'm looking for. Now I know what's possible. And so it opens up because it's essentially like, I think what Ben said too was it's kind of like if you're driving on a road at night and you have just your regular lights on and you're like, I can't really see too much. And you flick your high beams on. And you're like, oh, there's a turn coming up ahead, right? Then you can flick your high beams off, right? As another car is coming and know that turn's coming. And it kind of like allows you to figure out what you're setting yourself up for beforehand. And what you said about the clouds, I have a very similar analogy where, if we think about, once again, that Western, culture type mindset of like, we got a lot of things going on. We got families, we got houses to pay for, cars, jobs, trying to get promoted, all these things that are going on in people's lives. All of those things create clouds. And those clouds are not necessarily bad. But if you forget that there's sun behind the clouds, that's where it gets challenging. And I think that where psychedelics are not the sun, they can be the finger that points you back to the sun when you get confused and you forget where the sun is or that even if it exists.
Yeah, the sun is your best and highest. It's you, it's your highest self, if you will, right? If you want to go super woo-woo. But like, that's what the sun, in my opinion, is. And, there, like I said, many things that can get you. Psychedelics is just a vehicle. It's a tool that can allow you to remember that because sometimes life will make you forget. It'll make you forget that the sun is there. And when all you see is clouds, it can get kind of gloomy. You know what I mean? So the sun is illuminating. And, for me, fitness was the first tool, was the first vehicle to help me remember that because that's, what I used fitness for, to get me to that place. And then when I started changing the body, the physical body, right? We know about the 5 bodies. We started changing the physical body. That's the first one. And once you change that, then you become curious about like, okay, cool. I just saw this thing change. What else can I change? If I apply the same formula, time plus reps equals change, if I apply that same formula in all the other bodies, what's possible then?
Hey, everybody. I hope you're enjoying the show. I wanted to take a quick moment to let you all know that the doors are officially open for the Conscious Cannabis Collective. And as such, this is the last week you can sign up and receive all of the bonuses we're currently including. This is the last time I will be personally onboarding those of you who sign up with a complimentary one-on-one session and you'll have the ability to get the Grow with Cannabis course for free during this limited time. For more info on how you can take advantage of this offer, head down to the show notes for this episode and secure your spot today, as we only have so many spots left and they are filling up quickly. Now back to the show. Yeah, that's so cool, man. And that's exactly how I talk about it. And that's why I love both the podcasts I host, because Highly Optimized goes into like kind of all the other stuff, fitness, mindset work, things like that. And then this podcast specifically deals with how psychedelics fit into that paradigm. And it's so important to realize that. And that's why I say all the time, like, I think I say it pretty much in every episode, because it's kind of like the ethos to why I started the show, is that you don't need psychedelics to enter these states. Yet they can help remember to be that finger that points you back if you get really confused and you forget where the sun is, or, anything like that. And so fitness was my first example of this as well, where I noticed that, okay, even if I'm impatient, even if I'm these things, so long as I dedicate an hour of my day to doing this, I'm going to start seeing changes. And as soon as you start seeing changes, it becomes like a really exciting process. And I think that's what these days, when I interact with psychedelics, I have had enough experiences, and I'm very grateful for them, that like I have a pretty good idea of what I choose to believe is the big picture thing going on here, right? Which is, a combination of what the mystery school says, which is if we are created in God's image, right? Or source or universe, whatever you want to call it, if God's a charged term for you, if we are that image, then our mission here is to remember that. And so that sun moment is you remembering like your real power, your real divine nature. And you can do that in a sauna. You can do that, like, trust me, you can do it in hot yoga, right? You can do it in an ice bath. You can do it in a lot of different ways. I just so happen to really enjoy the psychedelic space to do that. And so that's why I love this show, because I'm finding other people like yourself who, yes, we have lots of different tools in our toolkit that we use, from fitness to mindset stuff to meditation, etc. But we also like hitting this button too. And this button, where normally like fitness and whatnot, you can get to these insane highs, but you kind of know like what it's going to feel like. Like you're going to be high on life, blah, blah, blah. Psychedelics are kind of like a fingers crossed, hit the button and see what happens. And that's why it's so important to have the right parameters set in stone and the right facilitators, etc. But I like the mystery. I'm a huge fan of mystery. That's probably why I joined the mystery school, but that's why I love them so much, because they open up so many unique opportunities and different perspectives and ways to live life. And they really help me see where I am still falling short of playing small. I was watching Gaia the other night, and they were talking about how every belief system is part of this collective matrix, right? That people agreed upon essentially in society. And so even the belief that we age and we get older, and when we get older, we break down, all of that is the unconscious, belief that is running in the background of most of our lives. And then you meet someone every once in a while who's like 50, 60, who just doesn't appear like a 50, 60-year-old. And you're like, what's going on there? Well, I would imagine, I don't know for sure, but I would imagine that their whole life, they never really attached to that belief. They were like, no, I don't really believe I'm going to get worse as I get older. And so if you break free of any one of these, socially, confined beliefs, your life can change in drastic ways. And so that's why I love going under the knife with psychedelics and actually seeing like, where am I still playing small? Where am I still not realizing that I have power over this aspect of my life? It's really cool.
Yeah, you nailed it when you talked about the container and how important it is. And that was, a big determining factor whether I was going to go in and dabble and be curious about what's possible here, or whether I wasn't going to, play with it, right? Like, because the container is so important. And I've been blessed to be in a lot of safe spaces, a lot of really powerful containers with a lot of really awesome, energetic souls that held that container for me as I was going through these journeys and these experiences. And that, to me, was the big determining factor as to whether I did it or not.
Yeah. I mean, it makes so much sense. Like I've been very fortunate, because before I knew about set and setting, yet I hadn't realized yet, right? That whole knowing to realizing thing, right? Where like, yeah, I could objectively state to someone like, yes, your set and setting is important. What is set and setting? Oh, it's the environment you do it in and who you do it with around, and, what time of day you're doing it, all of those kind of things. But realizing that notion, right? And so like what helped me realize it was I did plenty of psychedelics at music festivals, which is like, I think, how do I put this? It's almost like ground zero in a way for like the biggest challenges you can possibly face, like the biggest anxieties you can feel, anything like that will happen in an environment like a music festival, because you're around 50,000 people that you don't know. You're in an environment that you don't know. There's loud music and trippy stuff going on everywhere, right? Things that can all of a sudden like kind of make you lose your sense of reality. Because again, when you're interacting with psychedelics, you are disintegrating, right? So like everything you know about reality is leaving, right? And so depending on how much you take of a certain substance, some parts of reality still exist. I mean, I'm sure you've been in ceremonies where if you're in the right setting and you have the right facilitator and you can take enough of a substance that or medicine that you can almost like lose all of your reality. Like you forget how to talk, you forget your name, etc. Like those things can happen. And so that's why I was very fortunate that I at least had, this is where I'm really thankful for anxiety, right? Because I've had anxiety my entire life and I've learned how to work with it and kind of wield the power of it. I was always careful to be like, yeah, okay, music festival, I'm going to do half of what I would normally do for like a safe dose, not even like a big dose, like my safe dose, cut that in half. And more times than not, I would find that, I don't know if it's because of the energy around me, what it was, but that actually hit me much harder. And so like, because of anxiety, I was actually able to like have that like governor of being like, no, I'm not going to send it too hard, right? Where I saw other people that were like, let's go, we're at a festival, I'm going to take a double of what I usually do. And then they have an ordeal, right? Instead of an experience. And that's a translation of language that I don't prefer, right? Like I like having the experience rather than an ordeal.
Yeah, same way, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so, I'm curious for you. I know you've sat with, different medicines and whatnot, but one that I have yet to set with that I'm curious because I know you have is Wachuma. How would you describe Wachuma? Because I've heard great things from individuals that have tried it. I've sat with peyote before. Peyote was rough, but it's okay. I'm used to puking and purging when I'm on medicines from combo, but I'm curious how you would describe Wachuma, man, because it's a very masculine entity, if I remember correctly.
It was my favorite plant medicine to sit with. And I had such a beautiful experience is the best way that I can describe it because it was so gentle, right? And there was so much love involved. And it wasn't like a visual experience. It was more of a feeling. And allowed you to drop into your feeling center, but then feel safe, right? Because I as well have the gauge of anxiety that helps me calculate situations and, sometimes works for me and sometimes works for me, right?
Yeah.
So for me to be able to, slowly step into an experience gently like that was beautiful and safe. And what it was also an audible experience. Like I was getting a lot of messages, a lot of downloads, if you will, but more of like a gentle conversation versus like a disciplinary conversation.
Yeah, stern talking to.
Yeah, exactly. So I learned a lot, man. And, again, the container, the set and setting was beautiful. I remember a deep connection to everything that was around me. We were like, dude, the landscape that we were in, the environment we were in was amazing. And there was this one part of the landscape where there was this tree, right? But the tree had the branches that were just kind of like drooping over it. So it created a canopy effect, right?
Yeah.
And I went underneath this tree and I was by myself and I could totally connect with the tree, man, totally connect with the tree. But it wasn't like the tree was talking. It was more like the tree was hugging. It was like this hugging feeling that I was getting sitting underneath this tree. And it was, obviously the tree was bright and everything was illuminated, and I felt protected. Right? Because feeling unsafe and feeling unaccepted or not accepted is a big part of my story that I get to unlearn, right, as I get deeper into this journey. But being underneath that tree allowed me to feel that protection and that safety that I needed at the time, man. And I got so many messages there. And, a lot of them revolved around the idea of trust and surrender, right? Like surrender gets such a bad rap in our society because we bucket all the definitions of surrender into the same place, into the same bucket. And sure, there's the surrender of shame and guilt where you're giving up and all these different things that is there that, you can work through that energy in the surrender process. And then there's also the surrender of trust and acceptance, right, of the situation for what it is. And then knowing that something bigger, something more intelligent, and something more powerful has your back. By the way, we surrender all the time. We're surrendering right now to the architecture of this building. Every time we get on a plane, we surrender to the pilot. Every time we drive a car, we surrender all the time. And we can so easily surrender to, these human constructs, these human structures, or these humans that are, navigating these vehicles that we're in. But we find it so difficult to surrender to the divine, that created everything? Like, really? Like, that's your line, you know?
Yeah.
The surrender piece, and that's definitely something that I've worked through the last 18 months, man. It's been such a huge part of my journey. Is sure, set your intention. There has to be an action component into manifestation, right? Because affirmations minus action equal, useless jargon. The action piece has to be involved, right? Because the universe acts like an automatic door. It doesn't open till you walk towards it. Doesn't give you what you want until you give it the direction in which you want to go. If not, it sits back and says, all right, man, I guess you got it. Right. And most of us, we try and grip and control everything or have these expectations and timelines. And when it doesn't work out in our expectation, within our expectations or within that timeline, we freak out. And then we try and grip harder. And the divine sits back and like, hey, man, I've got something really cool for you, but you got to get out of the way so that I can give it to you. And if you don't get out of the way, like, I guess I just got to let you learn and do your thing. Right. And that was the biggest lesson that I learned after my Wachuma experience was like, hey, man, something bigger's got your back. And if you just get out of the way, there's a bunch of cool shit that's going to happen in your life. Right. And that was so powerful for me to experience through that particular plant medicine.
What is up, everybody? I hope you are all enjoying the show, and I wanted to stop by real quick and share a little bit about our latest podcast sponsor, Freedom Builderz. Now, Freedom Builderz are a team of graphic designers, website creators, videographers, social media marketing experts, and coaches that build out your custom online business from A to Z. This is a done-for-you service, which means they do the work for you, while you get to put your focus back on what you love most, which is coaching your clients and bringing in sales. Now, as a former online fitness coach, Mike knows where your struggle points are and exactly how to help you overcome them. This is why he created Freedom Builderz, so that you can scale your business while protecting your time and your energy. Now, you guys know that delegation is a business superpower, and you can activate this superpower today by scheduling a complimentary call with Mike at freedombuilders with a Z on the end.com so you can start building the freedom that allows you to take your business to the next level. Alex and I recently connected with Freedom Builderz for our Connect with Cannabis build out, and we could not have been happier with the results. With Mike and his team, they were able to go through an outline and create a personalized program for our experience, develop our brand identity, build and design a custom branded webpage, professionally edit our program video content, custom design all of our slide presentations, automate our email marketing sequences, create a seamless payment system for our offer, design unique infographics for our social media content, and guide us through our proven launch blueprint to generate organic leads through our social media. So if you're a coach, facilitator, or healer listening to this ad right now, and you are looking to put freedom back into your life, once again, go to freedombuilders with a Z on the end.com and book your complimentary call today. I hope you all enjoy the rest of the show, and I'm wishing you the best day ever. Surrender is one of the key elements to our proven process in Connect with Cannabis, right? We have Take Your Power Back, which is a combination of intention and ceremony. And then when the second step comes, unlocking your creative potential, it's based all around surrender. Because what I say, actually, I'm writing a whole speech out about it right now. And what I say is that in the plant medicine realm, surrender scares a lot of people. And I would argue to say the whole world in general. But why is that, right? And what I've dove into is a couple different hypotheses based on my own experience. One, I'm afraid of what I might find, because what I might find is more of me that is shadow side or something like that. And the other thing is maybe I'm going to realize that everything is my own doing, right? And so to become conscious of a lot of stuff at once can jar people, right? Because their feeling is, oh, now I have to do something with it. But at the end of the day, what they're doing is with it, right? Whether they have to have that hard conversation or whatever, that's going to bring them more into alignment with who they're meant to be. So it's you have a little bit of a tax, right, in the surrender process if you figure something out that you need to go take action on after. But at the same time, you're going to be happier as a result. And I think a lot of people think of surrender as non-consensual. Just like you said, they're white knuckling. They don't want to surrender, right? Because they're thinking of surrender the wrong way. Because if you don't have a direction in life in general, but especially with your plant medicine experiences, and intention is that direction. If you don't have that intention and therefore that direction, then you don't know what you're surrendering into. You're surrendering into infinity, right? And that can be definitely scary. Yet at the same time, if you have an intention that, say, in your situation, I'm looking to feel supported by a greater force than I, right? I'm looking to see if that's there, right? Then you know, like, okay, well, I'm surrendering because I want to access that. And to do that, I must surrender. So then you have a direction. And so then it's like plugging a destination into your GPS. Once you have the route on your GPS, you can let your hands off the steering wheel with regards to, not literally, but you can let your hands off the steering wheel with regards to figuring out the way to get there, because you made an intention onto this device, which is now going to show you the way. And so your job is just to drive the car and follow the map, and then you'll get to where you want to go. But if you don't put a destination into the map, well, how the hell are you going to know when you're going to get to wherever you want to go, how long you're going to drive, anything, right? And so I love that analogy, man, because it's something I use a lot in my own life.
Yeah, and then also the play energy is something that was shown to me during that experience as well, because most of my life I was very serious. I was overcomplicated. It's part of my story, right? Of the not feeling safe. Being able to control, right, which ties into the anxiety piece, but being able to control, being able to know exactly what's going to happen made me feel safe, right? Which for a long time growing up, I didn't feel safe. So I over-calibrated the other way. And then I started to try and grip and control everything. And what that plant medicine showed me was, hey, man, this is about play. You're on a playground. Did you know that? Like, look around. You're on a playground. You're on God's playground. And you decided to come back here and turn this playground into a cubicle. Like, you're taking it too serious, man. Go out there, go on the swing, go on the freaking merry-go-round, have a good time, right? And play and create, and look what will happen. Look what will come into your life when you do that. Because when you do that, you align to creative energy. You align to that part of the energy scale, and that part of the energy scale is closer to the divine than the opposite, right? And the closer you get to the divine, because what's the universal law? Like attracts like, right? The closer you get to the divine, the more of that abundance, joy, inspiration, love, which is all in the same line, right? Frequency. That's what begins to come in to your world.
Yes, I wholeheartedly agree, man. And one of the things that I think about often, I haven't told this for a little while, so maybe some people listening haven't heard this yet, but my whole theory of the ethereal extreme sporter theory, have I told you this before?
Mm-mm.
All right. So basically, a lot of human beings specifically start feeling, or maybe feel since the dawn of time, that they're not enough, they're not cool, fill in your limiting belief here, right? But what I tell everyone is, if you are a human being, you are an absolute savage, right? And so what I mean by that is, so imagine that you're, I'm going to use some terminology here that might not be exactly accurate, but it's going to be the easiest way to understand. And so imagine if you've yet to embody and incarnate in the physical realm, right? So you're pure consciousness and spirit, if you want to rather call it that. And so you're seeing all of these souls come back, and they're telling you like, man, dude, down there, that's crazy. You got to try it out. And in the beginning, you're just saying no, right? You're just like, nah, I'm good. I don't need to experience that, right? And then eventually, some really trusted, soul friends of yours come back and they're like, dude, Mike, you got to try that out, And so eventually you're like, all right, I'll try it out. But I don't want to go, like, what if I hate it? Like, what if I don't enjoy it? I'm going to go down as a fly. You said 7 days, they last 7 days. Okay. And like time's the thing down there. What even is time? Okay, whatever. I'll try it out. So you go down there and you incarnate as a fly, and you fly around for a couple of days. You're like, this is crazy. And then boom, you're out, right? You're back there. And you're like, okay, that was fun. I think I want to be a rabbit next, right? And you're like, all right, cool. I'm going to live maybe a couple of years, few years. All right, cool. Go do that. Next, I'm going to be, an eagle, right? Maybe live a couple more years, right? And then eventually you're like, all right, I want a big life, but I also want to be able to really look around. So I want to be a tortoise, right? Maybe live 100 years, but just kind of be by myself. At the point that you decide you want to be a human being, you are an ethereal extreme sporter, right? Like, it is the ultimate extreme sport, because you're going to have emotions. You're going to be aware that you're aware. You're going to be on a spiritual path of trying to figure out where the hell you came from. Everyone's going to be leading you in different directions. You're going to have all these different programs and patterns placed onto you from at birth. You're going to have society telling you what to do. You're going to have all of these things that are distracting you from you remembering where you came from. I always say to everyone that if you are a human being listening to this, you are already an extreme sporter. You're already the biggest savage in the entire universe. And so just by deciding to be a human, you've already proven that you've won the game. And so then the idea is like, well, if you already know that you're an extreme sporter and that you're a savage, right? Then the rest of life becomes play again, because now you're like, well, I already know that I'm on the expert level of playing this game. So now I'm not so concerned with it being hard. Of course it's going to be hard. I'm playing on the game on expert. Like I've already played it on easy, medium, and hard, and now I'm on expert. And so I love telling that theory, man, because it's something that came to me through a plant medicine ceremony, and it made me laugh hysterically. And I know for me, I played small for so long, right? I was like, oh, I don't have the motivation, the inspiration, whatever it takes to like, the power to do a podcast, let alone 2 podcasts, the power to make my own business, right? The power to leave my job that I don't like, the power to leave a relationship I don't like. And then when I finally started stepping into it and realizing like, no, I have the power to do all of that, then it was like, well, if you had all the power to do that, think about what you've yet to discover in your power. And so it's just this cyclical process of becoming cooler and more fun and having a better life and creating a better playground, as you said. It's amazing.
Dude, I love that, man. That was so great. Thanks for sharing that with me. And yeah, you're right on, man. And what shows up for me after listening to that, and it's something that I totally align to, is like it's in sports, right? Like who typically plays better? What athlete typically performs better? The one who plays tight or the one who plays loose, right? It's typically the ones that play loose because when you're playing tight, I did mixed martial arts for a long time, right? And if you're fighting, no matter what it is, if you go in there tight, you're going to be in sympathetic response. You're going to run out of breath faster than anyone else. And also you're not going to be able to defend because you're going to be in tunnel vision. So you're not going to see things coming unless they're right in front of you. So it's like you're out there and you're fighting tight. But when you're fighting loose, man, you've got that creative energy flowing. You're still defending, but you've got that creative energy. There's peripheral vision. You can see more, therefore you can defend more. You can move looser, less risk of injury, so on and so forth, right? So it goes back to the theory that I have, which is life is not a battle. Life is a game. Those who think it's a battle will never know peace. Therefore, they're always going to be playing constricted, tight. They're always going to be in survival mode. They're not going to be able to see what's coming, to their left or right. It's always going to be what's right in front of them. Plus, you don't last too long if you're constantly in a chronic state of survival, man, So, yeah, man, I love that analogy and that story that you used.
Well, I mean, dude, it's like you brought up something good in me too, because if someone's about to punch you, what do? You close off, right? You tighten up. And what does that do? It restricts your field as well, right? Talking about your energetic field and your biofield. You're not able to receive as much. You're not able to be as big anymore, right? And so if you're walking through your whole life feeling like life is a battle, well, hey, your language constructs your reality. So if you believe it's a battle, guess what it's going to be? It's going to be a fucking battle, right? Totally. And so that's one of the main things that, I know you and I are both language nerds, and that's one of the things we both teach our clients is like, hey, be very careful with your words. This is one of the challenges I run into because I'm like, I don't like to go down the conspiracy alley, but at the same time, I'm like, why is none of this stuff taught in school, right? Like, why is all of this stuff not taught in school? Yeah, exactly. Not taught. Exactly.
People know it.
Yeah, people know it. I would like to believe it's just from ignorance of like, the people that make these laws are like, they just don't know what they don't know. I get curious because, it really does seem like having gone through the entire, way of school and college and everything, they're really just setting you up to be a worker bee. And I think this is one of the things that psychedelics can break you out of so well, given the right context, to help you realize that like, wait a minute, why am I being told that I have to go to school to be successful? Why am I being told these things when in reality, we know that nothing is linear, right? Like there's no linear path to anything. And if you're being told that, it's actually just an illusion. This is one of the things that, psychedelics have helped me break free of. And cannabis really was the intro to this when I was, 16 and started questioning everything. And then realizing real quickly that I didn't know anything. And then realizing that the whole point of life was to know nothing. Because when you know nothing, you can actually imagine. And when you can imagine, you can create whatever reality you want. These types of things have really helped me out a lot. And then what was the first experience with psychedelics that you had like your wow moment, because for me, it took a couple times of like interacting with psilocybin and, cannabis as well. When I first started, before I had that one experience that was like, oh, now I think I get it. Right. And so what was that experience for you and what was it like?
It was the Wachuma experience.
Yeah.
that was by far the most powerful one.
Yeah.
Because of, what came in, how it came in, how I felt after, I didn't feel like I got hit by a truck. I felt, alive. It's that feeling like, you finish an amazing workout, you hit the sauna, and then you come out of that sauna, that feeling that when you come out of the sauna where it's just like this, whoa, this is relaxing, right? Like
Yeah,
that feeling.
vacation vibration.
Exactly. But it was like that. It was like that the entire time. It was, for, 3, 4, 5 hours. It was like that the entire time. But then also feeling so safe and so protected and so like, oh, I get it. Right. Like I imagine it's that feeling of like, when you transition over back into infinity and you're just kind of like, oh, yeah, like
Mhm.
now I get it. Like, why was I taking that so seriously? Isn't you hear a lot of end of life like professions with people that are talking about, what they regret and what they wish they would have done more of. And it's kind of like, yeah, like now I get it. Why was I taking it so seriously? Why was I chasing that when this is really, what I was trying to seek? So that's what the Wachuma experience taught me, man. And it also illuminated one of our most powerful tools, which is the tool of gratitude.
Mm.
I was sitting in such an immense state of gratitude through that experience in the things that I was writing. I mean, I have my journal from the experience right here, and the things that I was writing down, I mean, are completely aligned to the energy of gratitude. Just being grateful for, my family and my life and my business and my friends, and being grateful for that exact moment in the way that I was feeling, and being given the gift of gratitude, right? And being shown that for those who are grateful for what they have, more will be given. And that was the big line that came through 4 times for me. Be grateful for what you have and more will be given. 4 times that came through. And
Mhm.
dude, I just started weeping. I just started getting emotional. It just all started running out of me at that exact moment, man. And it was just like such a beautiful thing, So that's the best way I can describe that experience, man. It was almost like a heavenly experience. I mean, that's the best word I can use for it.
It makes so much sense, man, because what I've discovered gratitude to be is the ultimate state of receiving. And if love is equal parts giving and receiving, and I know for me, I'm statistically and historically much better at giving love than receiving it, then, if you're looking to manifest, right, and you're looking to like show the universe, like, yeah, I'm ready to receive, like I deserve this, I'm worthy of this, all of those things, you need to be able to receive to do so. And so
Mm-hmm.
if you're not able to tune into gratitude or know what that feels like and give yourself space to feel grateful, then you're not able to actually manifest efficiently, because not to get down a rabbit hole of quantum physics, but like when you're in these altered states, and this can happen through breath work. We just did part of this in the presentation about breath work, meditation, anything can get you there, right? But psychedelics, I feel, are a rocket ship there to this. Instead of being in space time, right, where we operate normally, where it takes time to walk from one place to another, takes time, like what most people think is, okay, if I want to make $1 million a year, and I know how long it took me to make 100 grand a year, then what's 10 times that? Okay, so it's going to take me 7 years to make $1 million a year or something, right? But in reality, that's looking at things in space time. When you're able to go beyond, right, and access these altered states through meditation, through breathwork, through psychedelics, et cetera, you're able to jump into time space, where then if you're able to connect with the frequency and the energy of what you're looking to bring in. So in this example that I'm using, like you're able to access what it really feels like to be a millionaire, and you're able to sit into the gratitude of that, first visualizing connected with a heightened emotional state, like excitement, whatever, and then tune into gratitude as if you already received it and feel as though you've already received it. It will literally, you'll collapse space and time and it will just happen. But that's where the surrender comes in, because like a perfect example of this is, so the other day, I was talking to a buddy that Paul Check introduced me to. And this guy's like the founder of a big company. And we were chatting. And he was like, yeah, if you ever come out my way, let me know. And he sent me his address. And it was literally my last name, Sprague Avenue. And I was like,
Nice.
what are the, like, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's an example of how like I've been working on my energy and pulling in different people. And then this person was on the same energetic frequency. All of a sudden, the universe was like, watch this, right? Check out what happens when this happens. And that's the moments I'm talking about where life itself becomes a psychedelic. We're like, literally, if you know the weird downloads and synchronicities you get in a psychedelic state, that can and does happen in a typical sober state of reality when you start integrating these experiences. And that's why, like, literally every day of my life now is like a psychedelic experience. And that's a lot of why I don't feel I need the medicine necessarily to enter these states. Now, I'll still connect with the medicine to go, what am I still missing out on, right? Like, what do I still not know? What am I still programmed into believing is not possible? But I've been able to integrate a lot of that. And that's why I say for everyone, integration is not an optional thing, right? It's a necessity. And if you're not doing it, the hell are you even sitting with medicines with, right? Because if you're disintegrating your reality, a lot of people are doing them in not the safe states or whatever, but even if you're in a safe state, it can be a little rough on the body, right? You're staying up late, you're doing things. If you're not integrating, what the hell are you even doing? Now you just know that there's something external to you. It's more of the same shitty patterns, right? Like, oh, this state that was so amazing. Now I need to go back to the jungle and spend another $5,000 to access that. When in reality, the medicine's like, dude, what are you doing? I'm trying to show you what you can already have in your life, Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of the biggest thirst traps that people get stuck in with psychedelics is that they think they need the medicine to be able to access these states and have those synchronicities and little winks from the universe. It's interesting.
Yeah, you can align to any frequency or any energetic vibration that you want to at any time.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, we talked a little bit about this today, and you and I have talked about this in the past, but the pineal gland is your antenna, right? To access these different frequencies.
Mm-hmm.
And, it brings it back to the analogy that I use of the radio station, right? Like if you're on a radio station that is playing a song that you don't like, what do? You change the radio station, right? But most people put up with the song their entire life because they're stuck on this frequency and they don't know that there's other stations that they can choose from, right? Or they don't know how to turn the dial, right? So and by the way, the radio station is stationary. It does not change, right? Mm-hmm. Like the radio station is not going to change to you. You get to change to another frequency that is playing another music or another genre of music. And it goes back because you talked about energy and frequency a couple of times now, but it brings up that Einstein quote where he says, everything is energy and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality that you want and you cannot help but get that reality.
Yes.
And he goes on to finish that quote the most gangster way possible by saying, this is not philosophy, this is physics. Mic drop, Einstein out.
Shots fired.
It is so... And that's my favorite part of the quote, because what he's saying there is, dude, I'm not expressing my theory. I'm not expressing fluff. I'm not saying this is my philosophy. I'm telling you, this is physics. This is mathematical and geometrical precision. This is 2 + 2 is 4. If you know the calculations and you know the equations, you just go out there and you apply them and you will get the result that you want. And by the way, you can't change them because they're equations. They're mathematical equations. They're physics. Like attracts like. That's not going to change. That is an equation. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So match the frequency of the reality that you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. It is math.
What's up, ladies and gents? I wanted to take a second while I had your ear to share with all of you a very important announcement. Anyone who has been listening to the show for some time now knows that I am passionate about coaching and helping other coaches up-level their coaching practice. What I have noticed in working with hundreds of coaches is that coaches of all different types are facing challenges with being able to get their clients strong, consistent results, understand where to put their energy to allow their practices to thrive, stand out in the vast sea of coaches, move from imposter syndrome into trusting themselves, and ultimately make the money necessary to be financially independent in their coaching practice. The root of these issues comes down to a lack of connection with your creative force as a coach and entrepreneur. This is why we at Highly Optimized have created the Connect with Cannabis 10-week coaching certification program. The reason that cannabis is the focus of our program is because cannabis acts as imagination medicine. And in order to break free of these challenges, you must first be able to imagine yourself as the coach that is successful and has been able to break free of these challenges. When you are able to truly imagine and connect with the most powerful version of yourself, you can find the clarity to build your business, your authentic voice to speak directly to your clients, and the faith that you can overcome everything standing in your way. Once you have experienced and learned how to achieve these results for yourself, you will be able to offer this same unique skill set in your coaching practice to support your clients in overcoming their limiting beliefs and allow them to experience the breakthrough results that will make you stand out as the world-class coach you are. In this program, you will learn the science behind cannabis, how to experience the healing powers of cannabis, and how to facilitate these healing powers with your clients. With personalized one-on-one support on how to apply these frameworks into your business and weekly group calls within a community of coaches just like you will be equipped with a unique skill set that will allow you to get consistent, powerful results with your clients, feel confident in your coaching abilities, and allow you to gain financial independence while having the opportunity to wake up each day excited to share your important work with the world. For anyone listening who is hearing the call to set yourself apart and develop a unique set of coaching skills not found anywhere else in the world, jump over to the link in our Instagram bio and book a complimentary call with me today. Together, we will go over your current challenges in your business, your goals for your business, and decide together whether you qualify for a seat in the program. The next class begins April 20th, and spots are filling up quickly to be a part of the budding movement that is cannabis coaching. So book your call today and position yourself as a leading voice of how to work with this sacred plant medicine in your practice. Thank you all for your continued support and enjoy the show. Most of us have played a video game, right? And we know that, like, say, in a dirt biking game, there's certain laws, right, in that game, right? You can maybe not go through some of the map until you've unlocked a certain level, right? And these kind of things. Our matrix is essentially that. It's a set of rules for this game that we're playing in life. And yet most of us never knew there was rules to it, right? And we've never learned them. And so that's what physics and all of these things are doing, is looking to bring laws. But if you look back to like the 7 Hermetic principles, that's essentially what they're saying. Law of correspondence, as within, so without. What does that actually state, right? Like, you could read that and go, okay, as within, so without. Cool. But what does that actually mean? It means that to the degree that you're feeling something inside, that's how you're going to see the world and the external reality you live in. So if you believe, go back to this, that life is a battle, and that's what you choose to believe, then everything you see in life will be a projection of that inner state of reality. But on the other hand, if you understand that you can change how you feel, and even if you believed life is a battle up until literally this moment, and then you choose to start believing that life is a game and life is fun, then your external reality will start changing. Not because of the outside influences, but because of the inside influence of you. And that's why I recommend everyone read this book called The Kabbalion, which talks about the 7 Hermetic principles and how they apply to life, right? Because if you understand, the law of neutrality, then you can understand, like, okay, so even if there is the law of polarity and all of these things that say, like, okay, if you experience a real high, you're going to experience a real low. Well, if you hop into the seat of the observer, aka the law of neutrality is how I see it, then you can watch that pendulum swing, but not get affected by it, because you're choosing to live in the seat of what you truly are, which is the observer, which is the actual divine self. Like, that's where I think a lot of people get into challenge, because they go chasing pleasures and things like this. And to the degree that you're chasing pleasure, you're not going to be able to find happiness, because they're not synonymous, right? There's a difference there. And pleasure can be a distraction. And that's, something that I say with psychedelics, is that's why I think a lot of doctrines say not to use psychedelics, because it's kind of like a kindergarten rule, right? Where they're like, most people are not going to be able to have the responsibility around these to make sure that, like, they understand, like, okay, I don't need these to access these states. This is just showing me something. Most people aren't going to know that. They're going to experience a high and want more of it and want more of it and want more of it. So they just kind of say blanketly, like, don't use psychedelics. But I think at the end of the day, when you look into all the smartest and most interesting people, they were all interacting with some sort of psychedelic. I mean, Tesla was a mystery school initiate, right? Like, all of these people that, were into these esoteric teachings, and they were understanding how to play the game of life. There are rules to this game. And if you understand the rules, you can understand how to, like, not even hack the game, but that's the best way I can say it. It's like hack the game, right? Or now, like you're saying, you're collapsing space and time. You're able to match your energetic frequency to that which you want. And then through a series of mysterious events, that will happen. It's crazy. When I look at my life over the past 2 years, from going from working at the dispensary, where, I was playing ridiculously small, completely consumed by my internal reality of just like, woe is me, blah, blah, blah. And I was doing a lot of self-development, but I was still just so stuck in it, to now where I'm able to have epic conversations with people like yourself, having met you right at a retreat that I said yes to, even against my logic, and all of these things. Because, like, oh, there's money, it's a pandemic, what am I going to do? Yeah, screw it. I'll say yes and figure it out. And then through that retreat, I met new clients, I met new friends. It was amazing. You know what I mean? So for anyone listening, like, the main thing here that I think Mike and I are chatting about is that you don't know what you don't know until you know it. And even when you know it, you don't really know it, but you can believe it. And so that's like a tongue twister. But at the end of the day, like, you don't know. Like, I said this to your guys earlier, right? Like, there is one experience in your life right now that I bet anyone listening can go back to and go, that's the best I've ever felt. Well, what if it could get better than that? Have you ever thought that? Have you ever thought that maybe you just, like, are a day away or a minute away from experiencing a feeling that's 10 times that was? If you start imagining that feeling, right, and what it might feel like, and you just figure it out, right? Like, for me, getting into this whole, like, feeling into my future thing, It's not something that comes overnight, right? Like you get more and more used to it, like riding a bike, right? And then now I can sit down for 5 minutes and get right into an amazing energy. But like, you don't know what you don't know. You don't know how much more amazing this could happen in your life until you start imagining it first. And that's why I believe the Bible says, if you want to enter the kingdom of heaven, you must first enter the mind of a child. Because what is a child's mind? Imagination. They don't know anything. So therefore, they're open-minded to everything. They can choose to believe what they want, right? They can believe in fairies. They can believe in ghosts. They can believe in whatever they want because they haven't been told those things aren't real. They haven't other people put dampeners on their experience of life yet. And to the degree that you're allowing other people to put dampeners on your life, you're not living your life. You're living a copy of someone else's life that's probably traumatized.
Ooh, so much there, man. Yeah, I mean, so there's rules to the game, right? Which you touched on. If I'm from another planet and I get dropped into a football game, I'm gonna be confused as hell. I'm gonna be a mess. I'm not gonna win that game because I'm gonna know what the hell I'm doing, right? And that's basically what's happening. We're dropped into this human experience, and we're not, because they're not readily available, we're not taught what the actual rules are. And it's what Einstein was saying at the end of that quote. It's like, it's physics, it's rules, right? It's the law of correspondence, it's the law of polarity, it's the law of rhythm, it's the law of attraction. It's like these rules to this game. And what that does is it allows you to start seeing the world differently, right? And and it goes back to that Anais Nin quote, we don't see the world as it is, we see the world as we are. And when you play by these rules, you begin to change who you be, your identity, because now you are in alignment with the rules that govern everything, right? So now you're co-creating with the person that created the rules. You're like, all right, cool, let's play, right? That alone is very powerful and can be very shifting in your world, when you know what the rules are.
Absolutely. And, it reminds me of that Ram Dass quote, the best thing I can do for me is work on me. The best thing I can do for you is work on me. And I think this is one of the biggest thirst traps that society distracts us with, is that there's something external that you need to go fix. And so everyone's trying to fix the external problems. Let me help this person. Let me do that, right? But at the end of the day, if they're pouring from an empty cup, they're not going to be able to actually change the world because they're viewing the world as broken because they're broken inside. When in reality, they could see the world as beings that are all perfect the way they are, going through their own experience. And therefore, all they're doing is spending time to work on themselves, which is called selfless selfishness. Because the whole idea of selfishness is, I think, another one of those like dampeners that society puts on us, like, no, don't do anything for yourself. You need to be of service, right? But the best way you can be of service is to work on yourself, because to the degree that you're working on yourself, your cup overflows. And then just your energy, just being around someone is going to change their entire life, right? And make them feel happier, make them feel more aligned. And when they click into that energy through sympathetic resonance, they're going to just naturally figure out what it is they need to do. Now it's up to them to actually figure out the how, but you can provide that what? Same with psychedelics can do,
Yeah, and this is something that a lot of people are starting to realize more and more. And when I say a lot of people, I mean companies and big businesses are starting to realize this too. I work with individual clients. I also work with businesses, right? And I also help people build businesses. And part of the work that I do through Freedom Builderz is there's a coaching aspect to it. There's a mindset aspect to it. Because if we're talking about the law of correspondence, we're talking about that the micro affects the macro, right? I mean, that's basically what the law of correspondence is stating. So if the micro of each individual business, which is the individual team member, is working on themselves, right? If each individual is working on themselves, what's that going to do for the macro, which is the company as a whole? It's going to change the whole energetic trajectory of that company and the whole energetic field of that company. And guess what? Energy is a magnet. So now you've got everyone in alignment with their best and highest, everyone following and in touch and in tune with these laws, attracting in and vibrating at a higher frequency. Guess what kind of clients are going to come in? Guess what kind of abundance is going to come into your business, into your company? Because you're going to be in alignment with abundance. So that's what you're going to get, right? So a lot of these companies are really getting hip to this now and making adjustments that way and seeing it affect their bottom line, right? Like Dry Farm Wines, right? Who had everyone doing breath work and gratitude sessions before the workday, every single day, all of their team members, and saw a 6,000% increase in their profitability. In 2 years. That's crazy. Yeah, 6,000%. Right. And I think it's even more than that now, to be honest. But, a lot of these companies are realizing this, now. And it's a powerful piece in our culture as a whole. And then also the micro of the individual human being that affects the larger organism known as humanity, right? As we are the individual cells of the larger organism, humanity. And as we work on ourselves, we start to heal and we start to take the whole organism in a better direction too. So yeah.
Dude, it's amazing, man. You said that so beautifully. And, immediately I was like, I wonder if Viore is doing this because they've grown their company to like a couple $1 billion in like a couple of years, dude. It's crazy. And I'm like, I bet they must be doing some serious breath work and gratitude circles and company retreats and all that stuff. And, one of the things that I think gets people so stuck with this, and I can speak to my own journey and why I got stuck in like really trying to figure this out for so long without realizing that it's much more of a surrendering and letting what already is happening happen rather than actually doing, is the idea that a lot of people try to know this. They try to focus on the intellect part of it. But the intellect part of it is only meant to help you understand what is happening as you have the direct experience of it. This is one of the things that, I believe psychedelics can do is they can give you the direct experience of who and what you truly are. And then they kind of like show you like the answer sheet. They kind of show you like the last level, right? There, or the last chapter of your book before you're actually there. And so you get to read like, I am the hero of my journey and I am the king and all this stuff. And you're like, whoa. Then you go back to chapter 4 and you're like, now I got motivation to write through chapter 10 now, right? And so they allow you to have this direct experience. And so I think like one of the biggest challenges is that people try learning way too much of this without actually going, let me just go try meditating and have this experience and try messiness and not be perfect at it and just try it out. Because in my experience, even still to this very day, my logical mind cannot explain anything of what's happened to me over the last 2 years. And I've experienced it, right? My logical mind is like, I don't know. And then another much deeper, wiser part of me is like, it's exactly what you always knew it was, right? And so I imagine for people listening, if you're like, I wonder how I experienced this, just go experience it, right? And try some breath work, try something and start, because there'll be one thing you do at a certain point that gives you that hit, right? That hit of pure love, that hit of ecstasy, that hit of amazing feeling that allows you to realize, oh, now I'm starting to see glimpses behind the veil. And now I'm motivated to continue learning like about what I'm feeling, right? Which is like why I love looking at Joe Dispenza and all these, other practices. But at the same time, giving just as much time to actually go have the direct experience itself, because I think if we try to learn too much, we end up like a PhD piled higher and deeper. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges of education is that people are teaching you so much stuff that your knowings, right? Because a lot of education is like right or wrong duality, right? So you either know something or you don't, rather than you have a different perspective on something that someone else has. Because at the end of the day, we don't know anything. Even if we think we do, it's like, hey, cell phones are great, but they might also be causing cancer. Lobotomies were amazing and won the Nobel Peace Prize. And now they're frowned upon and you'd be looked at as a crazy person if you told someone to get a lobotomy, right? So like what is known today that is going to be considered crazy tomorrow? And what is crazy today that will be considered known and obvious tomorrow, right? It's like, that's what I really love getting into because it helps you realize that you don't know anything. And when you don't know anything, you win the game because you realize the whole point of life is not to know anything. It's a thirst trap. It's to have experiences and get curious as to what they mean for you and your experience of life. And that's why I love working with cannabis specifically, because I find that out of all the plant medicines out there, it is almost the best I've experienced for imagination medicine because I still have both my feet on the ground. I'm still Ryan. I still know my identity, but I'm having downloads drop into the mail slot from an external source, right? That also is just showing me other sides of me that allow me to have that cosmic giggle of realizing like, oh my God, I don't know anything because what I just thought I knew beforehand, now I don't. And that's fine, right? And once you can get out of the identity of the knower and become the experiencer, your whole entire life changes. And it's just so fucking magical.
Yeah, when you don't know anything, you're open to anything.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're there and available for it to come into form. It's the observer effect, right? It's dropping the wave particle into particularity.
Yes.
But you've got to be there to observe it.
Yes.
So that requires action, right?
Yes.
So there's an infinite amount of waves of potentiality. The observer comes in, picks one. By the way, it gets picked magnetically off the energy and the vibration that you're vibing to because like attracts like. But the one that gets chosen for you, that gets dropped into reality, dropped into particularity, the only reason it does is because you're there to observe it. And if you're not there, someone else is going to drop it in, right? So there's, if you want to be a millionaire, that possibility, that wave of potential is out there in the quantum field for you to drop into your reality and bring it into tangible form anytime you want, right? But you've got to take the actions and do the things and be the energy of the millionaire, right?
Mm-hmm.
For you to be able to drop that wave into your tangible reality. And guess what? If you don't do it, someone else will. Someone else will
Yep.
be there in that spot to drop it in. That is stepping into the identity of accepting the fact that they are becoming a million.
Mm-hmm. Dude, I love that you brought up quantum physics, because I have this great idea that I want to make a t-shirt into, which is more wave, less particle, which is like speaking to the idea of like, I'm in time, space, not space time. Right. And I think it's like it's one of my North Stars now, where, at the end of a meditation throughout my day, I'm like, am I more wave or more particle? And it's not that one is necessarily better than the other, but to me, more wave signifies the fact that I am in potential. Right. And I am surrendering to all of the possibilities that are out there, because to the degree that I think I know which opportunity is best for me is the one that like is being run by the logical mind, and the logical mind is going through space time and is not connected to the divine. Whereas when I'm surrendering to like, someone hits me up and they're like, hey, you should connect with this person. I'm like, cool, awesome. Maybe they're like, like today, right? You're like, hey, do a presentation for this group. They do like accounting, right? Or something like that. And I'm like, cool. Now, if I was someone who's like, oh, my approach doesn't really work for accountants, it's like, who the hell am I to know? Like, first of all, I don't know that. And second of all, I ended up having a fucking great time, right? And those guys were amazing. And so, like, if I knew that I would be, quote unquote, better spent hanging out with spiritual people, because that's typically what I talk about, then I'm closing myself off to a million different opportunities where the smartest person I ever could have met could have been in that group, right? So, like, who knows what could potentially happen? But to the degree that you surrender and you be, instead of trying to do all the time, if you be the individual and the frequency that you want to become, right? Or that you are actually in that moment, then the right things are just going to fall into your lap. It's pretty amazing, man.
It's the play energy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll play with that.
Yeah.
Right? When you think you know how things are going to turn out, again, going back to expectations, going back to your timeline, going back to gripping, constricting, controlling, right? When you think you know how the way things should be, then the divine is like, damn, man, that presentation that I, gave you the opportunity to do, well, there was a guy there that was going to hire you to be a millionaire. But since you knew it wasn't for you, I couldn't give you that, because the divine can't interfere. It's called free will. And free will is the main construct of this universe, or else everything falls apart. Mm-hmm. So the divine sits back and waits for you to give it space to do its magic. Mm-hmm. But you have to get the fuck out of the way and give it space. And it's in the space, it's in the emptiness that the magic happens, right? Lao Tzu has this amazing quote that goes like this: we shape clay into a pot, but it's the emptiness inside that holds what we want. We hammer wood for a house, but it's the inner space that makes it livable, that makes it a home. We work with being, but it is non-being that we use, right? So what he's saying there is that the magic is in the space. And I heard someone say once, and I don't know how accurate this is, but I'll buy into it, that in a single atom, right? Since we're talking about quantum physics and, atomic particles and all that, but in a single atom, in the vacuum emptiness of a single atom, there is 1 trillion times more power in that emptiness than all the stars, all the planets, and all the space matter, up to 20 billion light years in one single atom, in the emptiness of that atom.
Dude, I mean, I'm sure you've had this experience before, and I experience this every time I meditate. More often than not, anyway. I won't say every time, because there are certain times where I wake up feeling weird. But in most times where I meditate now, I am literally dissociating, and all of a sudden, what will happen is like legitimately. So Joe Dispenza does a lot of these in his meditation. Can you focus on? He's doing convergent and divergent focusing. Mm-hmm. So can you focus on the space between your ears? Now can you focus on the space in the room around your head? So convergent is focusing inward, divergent is focusing outward. As you're doing that, you're training your awareness to go to different places, because you are awareness, right? You are pure awareness. And right now, because of serotonin running through our brains and whatever, we're locked into this 3D reality. But as we close off our eyes and melatonin starts happening and we start disconnecting from our external reality and turning more into our internal reality, we can go to some wild places, and we can become the wave, which is literally all the potential. And all of a sudden we feel big. Like I'm talking, I can't even put it into words. It's literally beyond words. It is like you are everything. I learned this from sitting on deep psilocybin journeys, where all of a sudden I would realize after about 20 minutes, I don't know how much time, I'm like, whoa, I am not me right now. And then boom, I'd be back in my body. And so I learned after a while to just trust in the process and not actually put myself back in my body. But it's so amazing to hear what you were just saying about the atom and how there's 1 trillion bazillion more times and 1 million light years or whatever it was, because at the end of the day, like I've experienced that. I've had the direct experience. And so that's a perfect idea of what we're talking about here about like, you can know that fact that you said, right? And what helps is having the direct experience of what you just said too, right? Which is what you've had, which is what I've had. And I imagine many people listening have. And when you know that's possible, I mean, like, what is more powerful than that, right? Like, what's a more powerful wake up call to help you realize that you are infinite, that everything is okay, everything is happening the way it should be. And at the end of the day, we are playing a game. And at that game, we go home and we all get to hang out with each other once again, because all of us are just us living different lives. We are all mirrors of one another. And that's why I believe we're here, to show ourselves how to love all the infinite different expressions of who and what we truly are, which is the divine. It's fascinating, man. So much fun.
Yeah, we're reflections of the same source, man.
It's powerful. Dude, this has been an amazing dive, dude. We could go 3 hours on this, but I know you got an appointment coming up and I want to make sure I respect your time. So, dude, where can people find you? Where can they get in contact with you? Where can they learn more about Freedom Builderz? Which, by the way, guys, if you're listening to this episode, by this point, you will have heard the ad for Freedom Builderz. Freedom Builderz is our podcast sponsor. They're fucking amazing. We went through them ourselves for Connect with Cannabis. We are blown away and continue to get blown away. Mike's one of those guys who literally like, we're already like, wow, this was the best purchase of our life. And he's like, hey, I got 3 more things for you, by the way, that I'm going to throw in. And I'm like, dude, when does this end? Right? Like, it's wild. And so if you guys are listening right now, you've already heard the ad. So where can people find out more about Freedom Builderz, connect with you, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, so freedombuilderz.com is going to be the best spot. Builderz is with a Z. And you can also hook up with me on Instagram, Mike G Coaching, which is our new page. Yeah, hang out with me there and reach out to me. I'm super down to talk to anyone at any time and give support. Wherever you're at on your journey, I've been there. Trust me, I've been in those trenches. Which is why it lights me up to be able to go above and beyond for anyone that comes into our space, right? And also, one of the rules of the game is the law of overcompensation, right? Yes. Which is a law that I abide by strictly, right? I like to go above and beyond for anyone that comes into our space, because that's what feels best energetically, for how we all vibe together as one whole organism, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, come hang out with me, ask me questions, wherever you are on your coaching, educator's journey, creator's journey, I'm here for you.
Beautiful, man. And my last question for you, Mike, is this. If someone listening was just swayed by you to experience psychedelic medicines for the first time, what is the one piece of advice that Mike Gonzalez would suggest to them to allow them to have the smoothest experience possible?
Find your container and be open to what's possible. Get out of the way and let the divine work through your experience.
Yes, hands off. as the kids are saying, ghost riding the whip, Okay, guys. I have been waiting to have Mike on the show for quite some time now, and I am sure the evidence is clear as day as to why I was so amped up to have him on the show. As I am sure you can all tell by this point, I really enjoy having a dialogue in which the guest and I can have our souls lead the way into what quote unquote aha moments and downloads come through and are looking to be spoken into fruition, rather than the typical interview style podcast. And every time Mike and I chat, our conversations play out exactly like that. I truly feel that this notion is what the world is lacking in so heavily these days, and is one of the ways I personally practice getting my sense of self out of the way and allow the divine to be present within the conversations I have on the show. And to be able to do just that with one of my favorite souls on planet Earth is truly a gift that I am so grateful to be able to share with all of you. Mike, thank you so much for sharing your time with me, for being such a love-centered individual, and for doing the important work you do in the world. And until next time, my friend, may your journey be smooth and full of light. Aho.